Hello and welcome to Sunday's sermon on Hughes of the World. I'm Graham Hughes. Nice to have you with us this morning at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. After that match last night, if anyone bothered watching it, they would have seen England won. England won against Norway. Yay! So now we're through to the semi-finals, into the last four teams in the World Cup. So we're going to finish at least in the top four. No matter what, which is quite remarkable. But we're not going to talk about the round ball today. We've got other stuff to talk about. And we're going to have a deep dive today into the crooked nature, the absolutely crooked nature of Refok, of Nigel Farage. There's a lot to get into in this. There's a lot to get into, so I'm going to get started as soon as humanly possible because there's a whole bloody timeline of events here, and I'll try not to leave anything out, but I might. There is a lot here. There's also a lot of you out there in the chat. We've got Kevin in the chat. We've got Hannah. We've got Diz, Lost Missionary. Who we got? Simon. We've got Elle. We've got Shinzed. Wow, we've got One Angry Pagan. Did I say Lost Missionary? We've got Sarah in the chat as well, Sarah Davis. Hello, good morning, and welcome to the show. If you'd like to join our friends in the friendly chat, all you need to do is hit the friendly subscribe button and wait for approximately 1 minute. Before we get going, I'm going to just send a message. There you go. Okay, cool. Right, so Lindsey Graham is dead at 71. I'm holding off saying anything about that until I can be absolutely sure he wasn't horribly murdered. Yeah, not falling for that one again. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Refok's money trail. Follow the money, which is what's said by Deep Throat during the Watergate shenanigans, which, brought down a president. Remember that? When the president was brought down by one scandal, one scandal, not brought down by literally hundreds. Let's start the timeline here. 5th of April, 2024. This is Christopher Harborne's £5 million gift. Lawyers for cryptocurrency billionaire Christopher Harborne say he gave Nigel Farage an unconditional personal gift of 5 million. Let me reiterate that Nigel Farage is prepared to say up the bar for 80 quid. Imagine what he'll do for £5 million. For Diz's birthday. Oh, yeah, it's Diz's birthday. Happy birthday, Diz. We're going to set up a super chat goal in honor of Diz's birthday. Definitely have to do this, don't we? Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Diz. Yay. Cool. Thank you for the reminder there. And the super chat. Very, very kind of you. Very kind of you for the super chat and the reminder. So there we go. We're going to have some more party stuff going on there. And there we go. Start the goal. Start the goal now. Okay. Goal has started. So very, very happy birthday, Diz. You awesome person. You. Good morning, Shropshire. Says Martin. Hi, Mist. 1. Says Lost Mission. Hey, D. Says, I love the way everyone's saying hello to each other in the chat. Very nice. Anyway, back to Christopher Harborne. Back to Refok. So at the time, Farage was not an MP, but he remained closely associated with Refok UK, Reform. And he, at the time, was the owner of Reform UK Limited. He was the major shareholder in that company that was registered in Companies House. And he was also the chairperson. He was the chairperson at the time. A honorary position, apparently. Nothing to do with him. Nothing to do. He just owned the company. He just owned the party. He just owned the political party. Nothing to do with him. He wasn't in politics at the time. Oh yeah. However, there are a lot of clips of him appearing on GB News and other sources saying, "Hey, you should vote for Refok," but not political. Not political in any way. The senator had a heart attack after flying back to Washington from Ukraine. The plot thickens. Okay, so maybe he was horribly murdered. We don't know. By Russian spies who didn't like him being in Ukraine. I don't know. I'm just speculating. So Farage later became a person of no, he was already at this point by the 5th of April 2024. He was already a person with significant control of the company that owned Refuck. Banking sources say some of the money may not have reached Farage until later in May because it wasn't all in one job lot. And this is why we're thinking there may have been some money laundering going on, which we'll get to in a bit. But also, like, by May, he had made up his mind to stand as an MP. Do you know what I mean? So, like, the timing of this is all a bit very, very, very sus. A suspicious activity report relating to the transaction was reportedly submitted to the NCA, the National Crime Agency, on the 16th of May, 2024. A suspicious activity report is intelligence for possible investigation. It's not proof that a crime has occurred, but the timing is very, very suspicious. Meanwhile, in May 2024, Fiona Cottrell made direct donations. She made 2 declared donations of £250,000 to Refuck UK, and that happened on the 9th of May and on the 29th of May. Her son, George Cottrell, close associate of Farage, Posh George, a former UKIP deputy treasurer, and a convicted fraudster. Fraudster as in he was trying to sell crypto to to drug dealers, in order to launder their filthy drug money. But what he didn't know is they weren't drug dealers, they were actually undercover police officers. Stupid twat. Confetti for Diz's birthday, says Pretty Kate Machine. Yay! Got another super chat in there. Got one to the 5. 1 to the 5 now, Diz. We're doing well. And Diz says, thanks so much, Kate. Ah, so much love in the chat. Missed One says, right now it's a conspiracy, but timing is weird. Some rumors think he was taken out in a drone strike while visiting Ukraine from the recent strikes. It is a cover, but no proof. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, people do die of heart attacks. Famous people die all the time. Just ask 2016. Anyway, so Fiona Cottrell is, her donations are being examined by the police to see whether the donations concealed or disguised money that originated with an impermissible donor. Like she was the money launderer. She was the mule. She was the mule carrying the money up her arse into the country and then shitting all that money out and then handing all that shitty money over to Nigel Farage and his Refuck gang of fucking gangsters. This is the Americanization of British politics. This is what the refuckers want. And these fucking knobheads who run around going, no, look at my flag, look at my fucking flag, right? Say to them, why do you want us to be like America? Why don't you want us to be British? We don't do things like this. We don't do things like this in Britain. This is American politics. Anyway, George and Fiona Cottrell deny that George donated impermissibly. No arrests have been made. 23rd of May, 2024, Farage says that he will not stand. On that date, Farage publicly announced that he would not contest the general election. A subsequent account in Michael Ashcroft's book says Reform had already hired Aaron Lobo to organise a Farage campaign launch in the middle of May when he said that. So he was lying because every fucking thing he says is a lie. And if you could do one thing today after watching this show, please check out the new Larry and Paul sketch on Broken News of the translation of what Farage was saying during his speech. It is both absolutely hilarious, but also just scandalous that this cheating, lying piece of shit motherfucker is allowed to get away with it. And he is allowed to get away with it because all the people in charge of this country are his old schoolmates, basically. They're all in it together. I mean, not Labour, obviously, because most of them went to state schools, but the people who really run the country, the money people who say, do what I say, or I'll fund your opponents. It's been going on for a very long time, my friends, but this might be the end of it. Who knows? Maybe the law of unintended consequences pushing us towards electric cars and renewable energy because of Trump's on and off war with Iran. That's going to continue until the rest of time. Maybe a bit like that. Maybe a bit like this. This could be the end of this massive corruption in British politics. Don't forget, it's not just Refuck who does this. The Tories do this as well. All the corruption when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister. Someone gave him an £800,000 loan so he could buy a house. £800,000 brokered by a guy who ended up becoming chair of the BBC. Work that one out. We still don't know where the money came from. We still do not know the provenance, I think the word's provenance, of that money. Provenance, or something like that. At this rate, Refuck should just accept washing machines as donations with all the laundering. Indeed. I really don't like Michael Ashcroft. Okay. And then Kevin says another 28 has been arrested for Anne Widdecombe's so-called murder. Well, I think she was murdered, mate. I don't think it's a put-up job. I mean, it all sounds a bit grim, to be honest with you. And, I know your mileage may vary on how you feel about her and how she reacted to other people's deaths, most notably John Smith, the former leader of Labour before Tony Blair, to which she was like, I don't really care. Just saying. And then you could have a look at how Trump responded to the deaths of his political opponents or the deaths of a couple of, or someone who's a wonderful filmmaker like Rob Reiner. See how Trump responded to that. So, yeah. What did he say? He said he was glad that someone was dead. Remember that? Remember he said he was glad that this person was dead because he voted against him. He didn't like them. He was glad they were dead. Yeah. Trump said that. So that kind of unleashed us all, unshackled us all from any kind of feeling that we have to be nice or kind or generous or anything, because we just don't have to be, where were we? Farage said he wouldn't stand. But the timing of this matters because Farage's defence is partly based on the contention that the 5 million was received while he was outside what he called active politics. Now, I would argue in a court of law, if I had to, that owning a political party does not place you outside of active politics. Anyway, 3rd of June 2024, Farage returns. Farage announced that he would stand in Clacton and resumed the Refuck leadership. Parliamentary rules require that newly elected MPs need to register relevant political benefits received during the preceding 12 months. Farage argues that the 5 million was personal rather than political and therefore did not need to be registered. Now let's jump into this for a moment, because the reason why they say if it's a personal gift, it doesn't have to be registered is because they think of a gift as like a fucking CD, a DVD, a copy of a book. It's a signed album by a band you like, or something like that. A present. You don't have to declare all the presents, all the sex toys that you've had bought for you, right? Because it's a present, right? It's a gift. It's a private gift, and you don't want people to know necessarily what your kink is. So I understand that, right? They don't have to declare absolutely everything because it would get ridiculous. Someone buys them a mug that says "World's Best Dad" on it, for the dad of for like Stannis Baratheon. He shouldn't have to declare that, I mean, he should declare that he had his daughter burned at the stake, but because he was told to by a witch. But he definitely shouldn't have to declare all those little trinkets that you buy each other in life, because that would get ridiculous and it wouldn't be worth Parliament's time to look at it. But we're talking about gifts worth about a tenner, 20 quid, maybe 50 quid, maybe you'll splash out, spend a couple of £100 on something nice, right? Record player or something, right? Not 5 million. Not 5 million. That's not in the spirit of this whole thing of gifts are okay. Not 5 million. Definitely not 5 million. The Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards is deciding whether that distinction is credible. This distinction that Farage says that it was a personal donation, is credible under the rules. Meanwhile, from the 10th to the 12th of June 2024, Fiona Cottrell transferred £1 million that she did not have. She wasn't worth that much. She was worth about £2 million at the time, and she's just handed over 1.5 million in a short space of time to Refuck, Nigel Farage, and Britain Means Business, a company controlled by Richard Tice and used to raise money for reform. The money was reportedly routed through the UK account of an Australian currency exchange company called Wanify, as Australians will probably call it. Britain Means Business transferred £500,000 to Refuck within 2 days. Banking sources say the ultimate origin of the full £1 million could not be established, and that assistance was being sought from the Australian authorities. Because Britain Means Business appeared as the donating organisation, Fiona Cottrell's involvement was not shown in Refuck's public donation record for that payment. So there's some dodgy motherfuckers who know they can't give money to Refuck because they're dodgy motherfuckers or they're outside the country. And what they've done is they have given the money to this shell company that Farage's mate Tice has set up, and then Tice has used that shell company to pay for the make a donation towards to Refuck, and therefore launder the money, and this is why they're being questioned by the fucking police. Come on, this is serious shit going on right now. They're being questioned by the police. This is no longer just parliamentary standards. This is the National Crime Agency. This is the Metropolitan Police. Anyway, 4th of July, Farage was elected MP for Clacton. Tice was elected MP for Boston and Skegness. Reform therefore moved from being primarily a campaigning organisation into parliamentary politics, while these financial arrangements remained undisclosed or only partially visible. That's me doing the sign for partially visible. Anyway, so 2nd of December 2024, Cottrell loan and Dubai property development payment. So here's some more. Later that year, George Cottrell reportedly transferred £78,100 to Tyson Investments, a company controlled by Tice, because I think it's like a play on his name or something. I don't know. Tice, not very nice. Piece of shit, actually. Okay. Right. So yes, on the same day, Tyson reportedly sent approximately £92,000 towards Tice's purchase of a property in Dubai, helping the British taxpayer, helping the people of Boston and Skegness. These flim-flam merchants turn up, lie to people. Oh no, we're doing this for you. They're not. They're doing it to line their own pockets. They're doing it to feather their own nest. This has been the story since the beginning of time with right-wing politicians. They are in it to feather their nests. How long will it be before the British people or the people around the world will wake up and see that right-wing politicians nearly always are just feathering their own nests, making things nice for them, making things nice for their husbands? Do you remember when Theresa May was our Home Secretary, and who got all the contracts for the prisons? It was Group 4 Security, G4S. Do you remember them? Who was in charge of G4S at the time? Might it be Theresa May's husband? Funny that. Anyway, so this money is the further payments brought the amount sent to the property, further payments after this, to this property in Dubai, not in Boston, not in Skegness, not in Clacton, in Dubai, but the sent towards the property to approximately £650,000. That's more money than a lot of people will earn in their entire fucking lifetime. And he's just playing with it. He's just playing with it. Banking staff reportedly filed suspicious activities because of Cottrell's criminal history, overseas residence, relationship with Reform, and the timing of the transactions. Tice described the money as a short-term personal bridging loan. A short-term. Imagine if you had a mate who could give you a short-term bridging loan of £650,000. On the 7th of January 2025, Tyson Investments donated £613,000 to Reform. The donation came after the Cottrell loan and the Dubai payments. It's not been established that the loan funded the party donation, but the sequence is among the matters that bankers believed required examination. So this was flagged by the banks at the time for money laundering concerns. And then on the 24th of February 2025, approximately £655,000 was reportedly paid back into Tyson's account. Tyson is spelled Tison, Tyson. Described as an overpayment after Tice obtained a mortgage. Tice then repaid Cottrell all of the money. No, not all the money. Only joking. £80,000. £80,000. Questions remain whether the loan was available on unusually favourable terms and should have been included in Tice's parliamentary interest or company disclosures. Meanwhile, February 2025, criminal investigation begins. So the police have been looking into this for a very, very long time. Electoral Commission referred concerns about refuck donations to the Met Police. The Met's Special Inquiry Team opened an investigation into alleged offences under Section 61 of the Political Parties, Elections and Referendums Act 2000. That section covers arrangements intended to conceal an impermissible donor, false information about a donation, and the deliberate withholding of material information about its source. Police have sought early investigative advice from the Crown Prosecution Service. And it wasn't until over a year later, in April of 2026, that this £5 million from Christopher Harborne, over in Thailand, became public. The existence of Harborne's payment was revealed, and Farage initially presented it as money intended to provide what he deemed a lifetime security. He needed a lifetime of security because he was the most attacked politician of the modern age, apart from the 3 politicians who have been murdered that aren't him. He subsequently called it a reward for his work securing Brexit. The Parliamentary Standards Commissioner opened an investigation, and Refuck said the money was an unconditional personal gift received before Farage became an MP. And the thing is, the frustrating thing here, well, frustrating, but the ridiculous thing here is, if he had declared this, it wouldn't have been illegal. It wouldn't have been a problem, sorry. It wouldn't have been a problem. It's the fact that he didn't declare this, and he didn't declare all these shenanigans going on with George Cottrell, and all these shenanigans going on with Tyson, his private company, and taking money and putting it in property in Dubai and then taking it back and all this shit. Both of these men, Farage and Tice, are both MPs. And there are certain rules that they have to abide by. One of the rules is you have to declare this kind of shit. You have to fill out a form. Fill out a form. Apparently, according to Alison, Posh George wrote a book on how to launder money. Does not surprise me one little bit. So, in June 2026, it emerged that Farage and Tice had used a private meeting with the Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey to oppose a state-backed digital pound. Let's not forget that Christopher Harborne, over in Thailand, is a shareholder in Tether, a stablecoin business that could face competition from a central bank digital currency. So let me get the program. Let me get this very clear for everyone watching, right? So we go from Nigel Farage, right, receiving £5 million from a crypto billionaire who launders money for the Russian government. For the Russian government that all of Europe is at war with at the moment. Technically. He takes the $5 million and says, "Thanks very much for this gift of $5 million. And you don't want me to do anything with this money, do you, Christopher?" And Christopher says, no, my name is Sankreet now. You don't have to do anything with the money. You just have a good time. You spend it on Ferraris. You spend it on ice creams. You can spend it on anything you want. And Farage says, "Oh, great, okay. Hey, listen, I've got a meeting coming up with the Governor of the Bank of England. Do you want me to say anything?" "Oh, no, don't say anything that might be really, really helpful to my stablecoin business. Please don't say anything there. Don't, because then people might think there's a £5 million pro quo." Yeah, it's funny that. So yeah, Mitch next month says something. Mitch is already gone. Mitch went a couple of weeks ago. He's just a vegetable in a machine at the moment, being kept alive. It's a slab of meat. Anyway, the undeclared personal gift and Harborne's dominant position in Refuck's funding make it a legitimate question of transparency and political influence. Meanwhile, 23rd of June, 2026, Farage said the money was none of the public's business and it was unconditional. He said he could spend it on Ferraris or gambling if he chose. He refused to explain how much had been spent on security. And this weakened his initial position, saying that he needed this money for security, right? For protection. 5th of July this month, further Cottrell support was reported. The Sunday Times reported that George Cottrell had paid for staff, had paid for security, and paid for accommodation used by Farage before the election. Farage said this was personal help from a friend and it was unrelated to his personal activity. Although the actual place that he had in London was literally 5 minutes walk from Refuck UK's HQ. The second parliamentary standards inquiry was opened into these alleged benefits. So we have 2 inquiries going on at the moment. We've got one going on into Harborne and another one going on into Cottrell, giving money when they shouldn't do to Farage and his mates, and Farage and his mates knowing that these people shouldn't be given the money and therefore not declaring it. And then when they get found out that they declared it, they're saying, oh, we need to launch an inquiry into the National Crime Agency. We need to launch an inquiry into some bank or some people or whatever to find out how this information was leaked. Don't give a fuck how they got the information. But the information is out there now. You're a bunch of fucking crooks. And then just 2 days later, on the 7th of July this week, Farage resigned to stand again in Clacton, immediately saying that he would contest a by-election costing £280,000, and he declared that it was going to be the people versus the establishment. I mean, in a way it is, because he's the establishment, and the only people who are standing against him are the only people of note who are standing against him are people like Count Binface, who I guess represents the people. So yeah, Labour, Conservatives, Lib Dems, Greens, other parties, they declined to field candidates. The parliamentary investigations may be interrupted administratively by his departure, but are not necessarily extinguished by re-election. And the by-election is scheduled for the 13th of August. Meanwhile, the NCA, the National Crime Agency, and the police scrutiny expands. Reports indicate that bankers had submitted at least 4 suspicious activity reports, including senior reform figures or their associates. The transactions included the Harborne gift, the Britain Means Business payments, and the Cottrell Tice loan arrangements. The Met confirmed that 2 people have been interviewed under caution, which we now know as George and Fiona Cottrell, and they apparently attended voluntarily, and they're being interviewed under caution does not establish guilt. Obviously, we have to say that in order to keep things nice and legal. However, the 12th of July. The Times reported that George Cottrell also personally paid Refuck office expenses and bought software for the party. These payments were allegedly not reported to the Electoral Commission. Refuck maintains that it complied with the donation rules. And questions remain over whether Cottrell was a permissible donor at the relevant times and whether his description as an informal volunteer reflected his actual influence within the organisation of Refuck. Yeah. Now this is what has been established. Farage, 5 million from Harborne, did not register it as a political benefit, which you're supposed to do within 12 months for everything you got within 12 months of becoming an MP. So people can't give you loads and loads of money to run as an MP and then do whatever they want you to do. That's the plan. Harborne is Refuck's dominant financial backer and has extensive cryptocurrency interest. Fiona Cottrell also made large payments to Refuck. George Cottrell lent money to Tice and provided support connected to Farage. Bankers reportedly filed multiple suspicious activity reports, 4 that we know of. The Met is conducting a criminal investigation. George and Fiona Cottrell have been interviewed under caution. Parliamentary Standards Commissioner is investigating Farage for 2 different things. That investigation is now being suspended, and if Farage wins the by-election in Clacton, which he probably will do, if he wins in Clacton, then the investigation will continue. And Cottrell, let's not forget, had a previous conviction for wire fraud. But we say wire fraud, that doesn't sound too bad, does it? You know, you got the wires the wrong way around in the plug or something. You frauded my wires. You sent me this wire and it was the wrong type of wire. You know, you sent me a USB-C cable, but it could only power up. It couldn't send data, so that was a wire fraud. Okay. No, this motherfucker was trying to launder drugs for drug dealers. Sorry, launder money for drug dealers. Yeah. What has not been established is a suspicious activity report does not necessarily demonstrate money laundering. Neither Farage nor Tice have been convicted of an offence arising from these transactions so far. It's not been proved that George Cottrell was the ultimate source of his mother's payments. It's not been proved that Harburn's gift purchased a particular policy. It's not been proved that Tice's loan, property transaction or party donation were funded from the same money. And the police investigation so far has not produced arrests or charges. However, we're in the midst of this. And we need to talk about why this is so serious for democracy. The public may not know who is funding a major political party. Political finance laws are supposed to establish a genuine source of political money. A payment routed through a person, company, or fundraising vehicle or exchange platform can satisfy the surface reporting requirement while concealing where the funds originally originated. Now, the bankers involved in this, they cannot establish the original source. It's difficult to see how a party treasurer can confidently certify that a particular donor is permissible. Farage, oh, look at that from Chris. Happy birthday to the wonderful and amazing Diz. Farage's defence relies heavily on describing substantial benefits as personal. This £5 million payment from Refux principal donor, security supporting a prominent political figure, staff managing his public communications, accommodation and transport associated with his political over the an issue all over Europe, Russia has been secretly and not so secretly funding far-right parties for years. Oh, absolutely. Now, would you be surprised if Russia was behind all this? Would you? No. You know? Farage and his ilk have been undermining Europe, undermining the civilized countries of Europe for many, many, many years. And who does that benefit? Russia. It does not benefit the USA if we're poorer, because it means we buy less stuff from the USA. We go to the cinema less often to go and see their movies, because we've got less money. It's not in America's interest to make Europe poorer. It is in Russia's interest to make Europe poorer. Simple as that. But yes, so this is serious for democracy because money paying for staff, advertising, polling, travel, security, digital campaigning, media production, and the democratic problem really isn't just limited to a proven bribe. Dependence on a handful of wealthy patrons is fucking our democracy. Do what I say or I will fund your opponents. Those words shouldn't be allowed to be said by anyone in this country. It shouldn't be a thing that can happen. And yet here we are. A handful of wealthy patrons can shape which interests receive access, which policies receive attention, and which political projects can afford to compete. And Refuck is highly dependent on individual benefactors. Harburn himself has supplied a large proportion, over 50% of the party's historic income. This creates an obvious concentration of financial power when no explicit instruction is given. But if Farage and Tice had done nothing whatsoever to do with cryptocurrency or anything like that, then okay, they got the money from this guy who lives far away and is involved in some kind of, dogfighting ring or something over on the other side of the planet, and it doesn't really affect us, right? Although it is morally abhorrent. But Tice and Farage went to meet with Andrew Bailey, the governor of the Bank of England, to lobby on Christopher Harburn's pet project, the lobby in his favour to say, listen, we don't want you to bring in this coin that's going to be, well, not coin, but this digital currency, because it's not going to be good for Tether, the stable coin Tether. This is why Ukraine winning the war is so important. It'll spell the end of Putin. Cannot wait. Back from Florida, says Andrew Ray, a state that is brain dead. 5th of July, dollar of July was all about Trump and flag shagging. All probs are down to Obama and Biden, plus peeps saying sorry for the UK being run by Muslim Arabs. Brain dead. Yeah. I want to know how these so-called think tanks can legally get away with being classed as charities at the same time, hiding who their donors are. Yeah, Chris, 55 Tutton Street, they're all charities. They're all fucking charities. You kidding me? What a load of bollocks. By the way, you talk about Florida and everyone's a fucking dickhead. Imagine you went to a school and all you were taught was propaganda. All you were taught was Nazi propaganda. That's all you were taught. And you went home and your mum and dad told you a bunch more Nazi propaganda, and you went online and you looked up stuff and it was all Nazi propaganda. All that was all you saw. That's what that's the lived experience of these people. Everything they learn about, every news story is filtered through what the Nazis think, because the Nazis own everything. The Nazis own all the big media titles. They own all the media channels. They own all the social media. Yeah, gobshites to a man. Well, maybe they're not all Nazis. Some of them are fascists. A democracy should not depend on trusting a politician's assurance that a person providing millions and millions and millions of pounds to a party expects absolutely nothing in return. I mean, yeah, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. And also, the Met inquiry began in February 2025. The public did not learn about it until like this month. The election had already been fought 2 years ago. The money had been spent. Farage and Tice had already entered Parliament. A system that identifies questionable funding years after it has influenced an election is not preventing interference. It's just documenting it retrospectively, something that we never looked into when it came to the Brexit referendum. Meanwhile, Reform's response has largely been to characterise scrutiny by journalists, bankers, regulators, police and political opponents as establishment conspiracy. But it does not answer who supplied the fucking money, what due diligence was performed, why were benefits not declared, why were payments routed through intermediaries, why? If it was nothing crooked about it, why are you hiding? Why are you not telling anyone? Why are you being so evasive? Nigel Farage, you fuckface gobshite. What influence did the people providing the support possess? And this is really, really dangerous for Farage and Reform. Good, because the Met investigation concerns potential offences involving the concealment of impermissible donations or false or withheld information. This is really fucking, taking it to another level here of corruption that we haven't seen in British politics for quite some time. It's the perfect weather for curry and chili food. Oh yeah, absolutely. The Guardian is running a story that the Musk Family Foundation funded Tiny Tom's recent trip to see his Russian handlers. His visit to Moscow. Well, that comes as no surprise to anyone, does it? Graham Pin L's link. All right, Martin. God, all right. Shouting at me. Come on, I'm a bit tired after the match last night. Oh, I'm knackered after all that running about up and down the pitch, winning goals. Let's have a look. Oh, it's not letting me. Why are you not allowing me to pin this message? I don't know why it's not allowing me to pin this message, but it's not allowing me to pin the message. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. Oh, nice. Okay. Sorry, I'm just going to have to refresh the page. I'm really sorry, El, but I'm tapping on your... Oh, there you go. Here we go. We got it. Okay. It's done. I should have a little screen at the bottom here where you can see what I can see on my screen. So when I'm pressing on something to try and make it work and it's not actually fucking working, you'll understand what I'm doing rather than me just going quiet for a moment. And so there you go. Yes. We are. This is quite dangerous for Farage and Refuck. Basically, they've got a financial exposure here because impermissible donations can be returned or forfeited. Further findings could discourage existing donors who do not want their own finances subjected to comparable scrutiny. Farage is Refuck is highly centralised around Farage. Its brand, its media attention, fundraising and political strategy depend heavily upon it. And a scandal involving ordinary party official could be contained. Allegations involving Tice, Farage, it's the party's largest donor, its fundraising vehicle, and one of Farage's closest associates, implicate the organisation's central structure. And then we've got the fact that Farage's cryptocurrency advocacy will now be examined alongside his funding relationship with cryptocurrency interest. This does not prove corrupt influence. It just means future interventions on cryptocurrency regulations, central bank digital currencies will be judged through this unresolved financial relationship. It's all, like I say, it's all a bit it's all a bit grim, really, to say the least. I want to talk about the sort of the evidence here that Farage is panicking. His explanation for the 5 million has changed. It was presented as provision for lifetime security, and then it was reward for delivering Brexit. And his televised resignation statement this week was angry, emotional, focused heavily on his treatment by the media rather than giving a complete account of the disputed finances. He was really angry, or he's performatively angry, and that's not the Bonhamy kind of man of the people that he's put about in the past. And that stands in stark contrast with our new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, who's going to be taking over next week. Next Monday, he becomes Prime Minister. If England make it through to the World Cup final, my God, against France. Although, let's not forget, we did win the Battle of Stamford Bridge against the Norwegians, and then got battered by the French down at the Battle of Hastings later that same year. Yes, bit of a historical problem there. Nigel Farage is a malignant narcissist, so it's all about himself. Yes, indeed. Just give me a moment while I sort out where I am here. Dangerous to reform. What I wanted to talk about as well. We need to say yes. He decided to resign. Did this really angry speech. All this. He did. He thought that the other parties would stand against him, and they didn't. And now he's seeking validation in an election against Count Binface. He's going to spend the summer arguing with a bin. But what I want to talk about really today is the failure of Britain's lobbying system. Political donations and lobbying are not the same thing. Political finance concerns who supplies money and whether it is lawful and declared. Lobbying concerns attempts to influence decisions, regulations, and policy. They overlap when a major donor or commercial interest gains access to the politicians receiving its financial support. The current register, I think, is too narrow. The statutory lobbying register mainly covers consultant lobbyists working for third-party clients. It generally excludes companies and organisations lobbying ministers through their own public affairs departments, directors, senior executives, trade associations, directly employed policy staff. Most serious corporate lobbying can therefore occur outside the register because the lobbyist works directly for the organisation seeking influence. And government disclosures are just absolutely inadequate. Departments publish information about ministerial meetings, but entries can be delayed, vague, or incomplete. The existing system does not reliably show the precise policy being discussed, the ultimate beneficiary, informal telephone and messaging content, like WhatsApp, etc., communications with special advisors, the lobbying of senior officials below permanent secretary level, the connection between donations, meetings, and later policy decisions. The result is several incomplete data sets rather than one usable record of influence. Now, my problem with this whole campaign financing, I think that there needs to be a new way of doing this. And Labour are looking into having a cap on overseas electors British voters living abroad would be limited to £100,000 each year in donations and regulated loans. People returning to Britain will remain subject to the restriction for at least one complete calendar year. So just buying a property in the UK won't automatically mean that you can suddenly give millions. But I think that the cap on donations from abroad should be £1. That should be it. £1, one British sterling, pound sterling. Okay, that should be it. Now, the cap on donations in this country should be 10 grand from individuals. Now, you can have organizations made up of individuals. And then what you do, very simple, this is very simple. How many people are members of that organization? And then you have a multiplier, a score multiplier, if you like. We've all experienced these if you've played Candy Crush. You get a score multiplier going depending on how many members of that group there are. So it could be members of your party. It could be members of a trade union. And then that trade union can give more money to political parties, usually Labour for trade unions, because it has X many members giving their money. So it's a lot of money coming in. The other thing they could do is bring in anonymous donations. So basically, if you want to give money to a political party, great, whatever, you can give them £10 or whatever you're allowed to give. But that party can't know who it was who gave them. The Parliament can. It's paid into a kitty in Parliament, and you select the party you want to give it to, and you pay it in. Parliament has that paper trail, so Parliament knows exactly how much money has gone to every party, and they then take that money and pass it on to that political party in question, and you never know where that £10 came from. That could happen. It's not impossible. But I'd like the overseas donations to be capped at £1. I would like to see the individual donations capped at like 10 grand. That's it. But we do have an exception for organisations that come together. If you can prove that you've got X many members and they all gave all this money, which, you know, is easy. Here's my GoFundMe. Here's my bank account showing all this money coming in, £3 donations from 1,000 people, and then I gave that £3,000 to this candidate. Yeah, if you can prove that, that's fine. If you can't prove it, don't fucking do it. So the advantage to this Labour proposal about the £100,000 annual cap, it reduces the overseas wealth being channeled through a British citizen with little current connection to the country, like Christopher Harborne, who lives in fucking Thailand and has a Thai wife and a Thai mistress and a Thai housemaid, and he does not live here in the United Kingdom. So what the fuck? Why is he giving all this money to a British political party when he doesn't even have to live with the consequences of what that party would do if it got into power? He doesn't have to live with the consequences of this party taking over in local governments and fucking things for everyone who lives around here. And the limitation on this is that a UK resident billionaire will remain free to donate millions. It's just ridiculous. That Labour are talking about stronger company donation rules. A company would need a genuine UK or Irish connection. Its donations would be measured against post-tax profits over the last 5 years rather than turnover. This makes it harder to create a company with minimal economic activity and use it to pass money into politics. And the limitation here is complex ownership structures can still obscure who controls or funds the company. And then we've got the idea, this the moratorium on crypto donations. So this has already been put into place. Political donations made directly through crypto assets would be prohibited in perpetuity. This would avoid accepting assets whose ownership history and international movement may be difficult to verify. The limitation on this is crypto can be converted into sterling before the donation, and effective checks must follow the original source of the money, not merely its final form, which is a problem, like with the Tice thing, where you set up a company and then all these dodgy bastards put money into that company, and then that company, the middleman, put money into Refuck, and they said, oh yeah, there's this company that gave money to Refuck. And then there's the know your donor duties. Parties and candidates would conduct risk-based checks closer to the due diligence system used against money laundering. Large payments and donors connected to higher risk jurisdictions would receive additional security. And the advantage of this, it moves responsibility towards prevention rather than waiting for the regulators to discover a problem 2 years after the election. Good job. So the limitation on this is its value depends on the evidence that parties must obtain, the guidance issued, and the penalties for inadequate checks. And the penalties should be fucking magnificent. The penalties should be absolutely ball kicking. It should be recall of all your fucking MPs. Every single one has to now fight a by-election to keep their seat. There you go. Fuck them. Yeah. So the other thing they want to bring in is standardized financial reporting. The Electoral Commission would be able to require parties and campaigners to submit information in consistent formats, and this makes transactions easier to compare, search, and analyze. So yeah, there are things that Labour are planning to bring in, but I don't think these go far enough. Now, meanwhile, the backbench Labour MPs are seeking amendments which are not current government policy. They want to make the crypto ban permanent. They want to reduce the national campaign spending limit from £34 million to £24.4 million. They want to require disclosure of money placed into a political party when it is created. They want to introduce a specific foreign interference risk test, and they also want to impose a universal £100,000 annual cap on individual donors. Now, like I said, I'll make that 10 grand. I would make that 10 grand for individual donors, because otherwise you run the risk of the tiny, tiny minority of people in this country who've got absolutely shed loads of money. Not me, obviously, clearly. Super chats are still open, by the way. I should just sit here saying how much of a twat Farage is, shouldn't I? People respond to that better. This is a bit dry. Giving a lecture about British political fucking donations. A universal cap would reduce parties dependent on billionaires. Lower spending limits would reduce the political funding arms race. Controls on starting capital would stop a new party appearing with millions already available, but no public donation history, like what happened with Refuck, the Brexit Party. The permanent crypto prohibition would provide certainty instead of a temporary moratorium. Meanwhile, the problems here requiring answers are the parties losing large donations would need more small donors, membership income, or public funding. And I don't mind the idea of public funding. You can tell me what you feel about public funding, but I don't mind public funding. You get X amount per MP. Do it. Bring down the amount that they're allowed to take from these, crypto billionaires, big pharma, big oil, big fucking smash the world up. Big defense. Trade union affiliation fees must be distinguished from a single wealthy individual purchasing access, which I spoke about before, and connected people and companies could divide payments and evade a cap unless aggregation rules are included. So yes, there's also Baroness's haters. Hate the haters. Baroness's haters lobbying transparency bill would require in-house lobbyists to register alongside consultants. The advantage of this was large companies could no longer avoid registration merely by employing their lobbyists directly. The limitation on this is a private member's bill, not the government's main political finance legislation. Registration alone would reveal activity without limiting the influence brought on by the wealth. I think that a complete system should record the lobbyist themselves, the organization and the ultimate beneficiary, the decision maker contacted, the date and the method of communication, the specific policy requested, and any connected political donation. And in the age of AI, that shouldn't be too difficult to do. Now, it's very important that we remember that no court has convicted Farage or Refuck's leadership over these transactions. And calling Farage a crook is therefore a political judgment about his conduct and methods, not a claim that he has received a criminal conviction yet. But he is a fucking crook, and I'll fucking say it. Farage claimed to represent people ignored by the crooked establishment, as he said, the crooked establishment. His political operation is sustained by millionaires, cryptocurrency wealth, hidden intermediaries, and a convicted fraudster whose precise role nobody appears willing to explain. The explanations change according to the allegation. Political benefits become personal favors. Financial questions become media persecution. Independent security is, becomes an establishment conspiracy. The establishment's out to get me. Yeah, it's all really, really fucking grim. You know, a safe this idea that it's only up for the people of Clacton to judge. Hang on, it's only the people of Clacton who are going to be the jury on this, but they've only been given half the evidence. They did. Farage was supposed to allow the Parliamentary Standards Committee to report back and say this is the situation, but they didn't. The investigation has now been suspended halfway through. Farage is going to have this election. He's probably going to win it because he's not up against any competition, and he's also in the safest refuck seat in the country, of course. And yeah, he's going to become an MP again, and then the investigation will continue, and he'll get a recall petition. I'm no doubt about it, and there'll be another election later in the year, costing the people of Clacton £280,000, taking the amount that Farage will have cost them this year unnecessarily up to £560,000, over £500,000. The people of Clacton, one of the most deprived and depraved areas in the country. So yes, my conclusion on this is, the explanations change, according to the allegation. He's a crook. Farage is a crook. The people around him are crooks. They behave like crooks. If it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck, right? And, Britain does not need the American model of billionaire-backed personality cults, permanent campaigning, private money, buying public influence, and every independent institution dismissed as an enemy. The Americanization of British politics can fuck the fuck off until the end of the universe, and then fuck off some more. I don't want it here. You understand what it's like being an American senator, right? Or being in the House of Representatives. You spend most of your life on the phone asking wealthy people to give you money, begging for money from donors. That's what you do. That's not looking after your constituents, not looking after the people that you're supposed to, to look at. But and this isn't restricted to Tice and Farage as well. Don't forget, there was the what was it called? The Robert Jenrick story from two years ago. Do you remember there was a scam involving like some kind of fitness firm that had no employees and it had no money, and yet it gave like, what was it, 70,000, no, 37,500 to Robert Jenrick for his leadership campaign when he was still a Tory. I just fucking it's just fucking grim. It's just fucking grim. They're all at it. They're all out there feathering their own nests. Clearly, in the manner of Donald Trump over in the USA, it's clear what they're doing, and they continue to do it until someone stops them. And that's what Andy Burnham needs to do. He needs to come in and he needs to fucking stop them. He needs to fucking stop them, because they are taking the piss and they're going to destroy our democracy. And they have the money to do it because they have the money to convince people that voting for these gobshites is in their interest, when it's absolutely not. I don't want our politicians to be spending all their fucking time on the phone begging millionaires for money. I don't think that's a good use of their time, especially as they're supposed to be out there representing us. Can you believe that in America, these senators on the phone all the time? There's only 100 senators for the whole of America, for the whole 330, 335, whatever it is, million people. Over a third of a billion people live in America. And they're represented by 100 people. I can fit 100 people in this room standing up. By represented by a number of people you could fit in this room standing up. I mean, they'll be squished in. There won't be much room to breathe, but you could fit 100 people in here. You could. 10 along there and 10 rows of 10. Quite easy, actually. And they represent everyone in America, and they spend most of the time on their phone asking for money, begging for money. Meanwhile, super chats are open, by the way, just in case anyone wants to drop a super chat in, because it is Diz's birthday, and I do think that she deserves confetti today, some special birthday confetti. Don't you, Diz? 21 again. Personally, I would like to see all MPs subjected to an annual DBS checks and 3-month polygraph examinations by MI5. Whoa, 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 Chris, no, absolutely 100% not. I'm going to have to push back very, very forcefully on the idea of fucking polygraphs, right? No, absolutely no. Polygraphs are witchcraft. They aren't scientific at all. And do you know who absolutely fucking loves polygraphs? Psychopaths. Because you or I, we get emotional, and all that polygraphs measure is your eyes, what are your heart rate, and how much you're sweating and stuff like that. And because we're emotional creatures, we will get emotional when people ask us personal questions or questions that we don't want to answer or whatever. Psychopaths don't. Psychopaths just sit there because they don't feel anything, because they don't actually have emotions. They just don't care. They're just, they have dead eyes, like a doll's eyes. And they sit there and they ace the polygraph machines. Did you kill all these people and chop them up and put them in the fridge? No. Cool as a fucking cucumber. Polygraph machines can be gamed to shit. No, I don't want anyone having to undergo polygraph machines in this country. It is not something that is legal in a court of law. Never stand up in a court of law in this country. In the same way that saying you were hypnotized will never stand up in a court of law as an excuse of why you murdered someone. There you go. The Ministry of Justice used them on individuals who have been convicted of sexual and terrorist offences, and the probation service, they are 90% correct. I'm sorry, but I wouldn't have that, mate. I'm sorry. 90% correct. No. A polygraph. It's witchcraft. And it's used by what? The Ministry of Justice. Is it? Do we use... I'm going to have to start a campaign. Does UK use polygraphs in what? Does UK use polygraphs? Let's have a look. They are never admissible while tests are legal, they are never admissible as evidence in UK criminal courts because their reliability is widely contested. Mandatory polygraph testing is used by the probation service to monitor high-risk offenders, such as those convicted of sexual offences or domestic abuse, released on license. Why the fuck do they use polygraphs? It's like, oh my God. To monitor suspects or assist with specific investigations, although those tests are strictly voluntary. Refusing to take a test can't be used against you in court. Wow. So we have fucking people using... Do they read tea leaves? Do they get a horoscope person come in, make some Barnum statements, and they're like, yeah, polygraphs, woo. Wow. Wow. Crazy. Absolutely fucking crazy. Polygraphs don't detect lies. They measure physiological stress responses like heart rate, breathing, and skin conductivity. That means anxiety, medical conditions, or fear of being falsely accused can lead to false positives. My God. Unlike in some US jurisdictions, not legally admissible as evidence. I would not recommend them at all because they can be gamed. They can be gamed, and psychopaths can game them very, very, very easily. Saz, thank you very much for the £2 super chats. Happy birthday, Diz. Happy birthday, Diz. Woo! Three more super chats and we can unleash the confetti cannon. Stop fighting with the people in the chats, Graham. Polygraphs aren't real. It's just an oldie-timey blood test, says Hidden Light. Yeah. Farsight, yeah, it measures anxiety, basically. Yeah. Mist One says, or Mystical Wolf. Oh, sorry, it's not Mist One, is it? It's Mystical Wolf. Sorry, I was reading that one. I trust reading body language more than the polygraph by someone skilled, of course, any day, but that's me. Yeah. The special relationship is postponed, and we should not share our intelligence with the current corrupt administration. Remove any CIA from GCHQ urgently. Yeah. What do you? I mean, let's move polygraphs aside. What would you like to see with funding? The funding of political parties. Like, what would you do if you're in charge right now? You made the God Emperor or whatever of Arrakis. No, England, Britain. What would you make the rules for political parties? Because I'd be really, really strict on it. I'd be like mad strict on it. It'd be like £10,000 a year, and they have to be a British citizen who's lived here for 12 months. That's it. In this country, they can't just own a property that they're never in. They have to prove they've been in the country for 12 months constantly, like they haven't left the country for 12 months. Because fuck them. You know, like when I applied for getting my carer's allowance from my dad, and I've told you about this before, but I was rejected, and it was because I'd spent too much time outside the country before I came back because my dad was ill. Never mind the fact I'd always pay taxes in this country. Like I hadn't gone to another jurisdiction. I hadn't officially lived in another jurisdiction. I'd just been traveling. You know, I've been traveling for months, years on end, and it was only by about a couple of weeks. It was the cut off was a couple of weeks. So they said if you apply again now, you'll probably get it, but the application takes a year. And I was like, oh fuck it, can't be arsed. Which I think a lot of people do. Martin Harrow, halfway there, over halfway there. Martin, over halfway there, 60%. If I was God Emperor of England, then well, obviously I would be in charge. Why would any political parties? I'd create a government portal where all donations can be made through it. Yeah, Hornet Gags. I think that needs to be the way. A government portal, and you decide which party you want to give to, and you give to that party, and it's anonymized. Like they'll know if someone's trying to game the system. But apart from that, yeah. But that's to come with media regulations with actual teeth. Yeah, I believe that. And L says, the Witchy Goth stroke Dizzers continue birthday bashes live at 6 p.m. this evening. If you don't believe me, it'll take a polygraph test. Yeah. Acro Dave says, let's go back to measuring people's facial features. Oh, yeah. What was it? Wasn't there a thing about bumps on the head? And it was phrenology, was it? Called phrenology. And they used to think that they could like feel your brain and decide feel your head and decide whether you're a criminal or not. For elections, £100,000 per party, and then £1,000 per current MP. All travel and accommodation funded at average cost from government central office. Yeah, maybe something like that. Confetti for Queen Diz, pretty cake machine. That means we only need one more super chat, and we can launch the confetti cannon. We can launch the confetti. This is very exciting. Sunday sermon. We don't normally get the confetti much on Sunday sermon, so this will be excellent if we can do this. A government portal where all donations can only be made through it, says Hornet Gags. I think that's a brilliant idea. It's an absolutely brilliant idea. The more bumps on your head, the more IQ you have, apparently. The more bumps on your head, the more you walk into beams and things. Anyone can fool a polygraph. The controller has to be sitting opposite you. Just stick a bayonet through his neck. Job done. Yeah, okay, fair enough. A final thought on the probation service and polygraphs is actual probation staff who were flown out to Texas to learn how to administer the examinations. Oh my God, really? Fuck that, Chris. I mean, fuck that all the way. I don't want some fucking yank fucking voodoo coming over here and going, oh, we've got some witchcraft. We've upped these sticks together and it's dead accurate. It's dead accurate. It's like, a lot of the time, the person they have in custody is the fucker who did it. That's why they can say, oh, it was 90% accurate. Because, that person fucking did it. They don't have too many false positives to be worried about. If you strip out all that and, just make it so that all things are equal, they're about as accurate as flipping a coin. Ryan Berg, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. You know what that means? This is for you, Diz. Happy birthday. Confetti! Woo, 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 woo. Yay! Diz, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Diz. You are awesome. Person impersonator. Polygraphs are psyops and worth no more than gut feelings. Yes, I agree with that. Win. Let's get Diz Fetty. Now, my friends, I have made a critical error, and it's time. The time for our attack on the Death Star has begun. I got back on Friday, and I've been asked by Ollie Bowler Hatman if I wanted to do a Sunday reform watch. And I said yes. What I should have done is I should have done a Friday night social. I should have got a Friday night social and got Ollie on, and also got Mike on, and I don't know, Scott and whoever else wants to turn up, Jack Dart or Femi or whoever. But stupidly, I thought it's okay. I'm going to be doing the Sunday night social tonight because it's Sunday and we do a Sunday night social now. But what I forgot about is that I'm actually going out to a gig tonight. I'm going to watch Wolf Alice play in Newcastle. If you're going to be there, give me a shout. Say hello. Recognise you from the hat. But I'll be heading off to Newcastle in a little bit to go and see Wolf Alice. So I'm not going to be doing the Sunday night social tonight. I'm so sorry. I feel really bad now because I feel like I've cheated you. I've cheated you out of a Sunday night social. So I will make amends by doing that, by actually, having a life and occasionally going out and doing stuff that doesn't involve political things. And you didn't get a morning brew. You didn't get a morning brew the other morning. So I feel bad about that as well. I just walk around all day just feeling bad, really, just feeling bad about everything because what am I doing? What am I doing? But yes, where was I? I was going to get this. I'll put that there. The Death Star was a terrible idea. Think of all the Star Destroyers they could have built with those resources. Well, they did in Star Wars Episode 9 for some fucking mad reason, which it still hasn't been adequately explained to me. Oh, God, I've gone to a morning brew. Didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Went to morning brew for a moment there. Didn't mean to do that. Let me just sort this out so that doesn't happen again. Beautiful. There we go. Okay, cool. And then we'll do that. And then we'll go like this. Ooh, there you go. Got my stamps now. Yay. Okay, cool. So, you're allowed to have a life outside of YouTube. Oh, thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. Do the Sunday night social at the gig, Graham. Might get done for copyright. Might get done. Do you know what? Like, I was bragging about how I was getting a bit of money, like 20 quid or something, but not that much. But for pissing off the gams on Facebook, right? They suspended my ability to make money on Facebook because I responded to a post by Mike Dix the other day, and as a joke, I said that I wank off Latvian sailors for crack. And my kids go hungry for 6 nights a week because they need to feed my crack addiction. And it was a joke. But the AI picked it up and went, "Oh, he's trying to promote crack and prostitution." And I was like, "Oh, it was a joke." Anyway, so I've had my ability to make money on Facebook suspended for a month. So I'm not going to bother putting up any contentious things on Facebook for a while. But there you go. Person impersonator. My schizophrenic son could pass a polygraph test because his beliefs are fluid and his nervous responses are constantly triggered. Doesn't make him innocent though. Yeah. Graham, that's a shame. You would have enjoyed the gig as well. You can't leave us. You can't leave us. What? Sorry, I've got to go. It's one of those gigs where you buy the ticket like not a year in advance, but like many months in advance, and you're like, "Oh, is that this weekend?" Brilliant. Okay, cool. So I'm going to be enjoying that later. So no Sunday night social tonight. I'm very sorry for that. But I will be back tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9 o'clock, with the next morning brew, where we'll be going through the news stories of the day. Try not to repeat ourselves too much. And talking about how we are. I mean, it's been pretty good week. It's been pretty, there's been some shit things that have happened, I guess. But England won. Lindsey Graham's no more. Farage may have just absolutely knackered his own chances of getting re-elected, or his political career may be gone up in smoke. It's crazy. Can Mike take the reins? Ooh, I don't know. I'll ask him. He'll probably say no because it's not that easy to get set up, and it's going to be a lot of faff. So I don't want to have to put it on him. It's a lot of stress. But yes, I'll try and get something sorted out this midweek where we all have a little bit of a get together. Yeah. So like I said, England won. Next match is Wednesday, I think, against Argentina, which Argentina are probably going to win because you've seen how Argentina play. Just saying. Okay, until then, I'll just say thanks very much for watching. Give us a like. Give us a like if you like what we're doing here on this channel. Please give us a like. Subscribe to the channel so you know when we're going live, and hit the bell notification so you get a little buzz in your pocket when we do so. Okay, brilliant. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.